There was a season in my life where I was pursuing a lot of things that I felt were giving my life meaning. And, it was getting to this point to where I was kind of felt like I was wandering, and there for a little while, things were going good. And I had started a new job as a baker. And then one day at that job, I went into cardiac arrest. My heart had stopped, and I needed to be resuscitated twice, actually. I was pregnant for my now littlest one, and that was when my life really, really turned upside down. It became this situation to where I was constantly in this state of anxiety, anxiety and fears. Like, I'm going to walk up these stairs and my heart's going to be beating just right, and I'm going to go back into cardiac arrest. So later on that year, despite all the craziness, I ended up giving birth to my youngest one. And she was born healthy. And, despite the health issues and stuff like that, we made it work. I was still kind of struggling with a lot of the anxiety and depression and stuff like that, but I was, quote unquote, learning to live with it. But then 2024 hit, and that's when tragedy struck me and my family. We lost my niece in a very tragic way. I looked at my husband and I was just like, I cannot believe how I feel right now, and I have no idea what to do with it. So he went downstairs. I was in bed at the time, and he brought me up the Bible and was literally dusting it off. And I opened up to Psalm 107, and they were the perfect words that I needed to hear. Talks about people being, those being stuck in a deep, dark pit, and how he pulled you out of it, and chains breaking off, and all these other things. And I just felt like all of these lights and everything, like blinds, are being thrown open and saying, this is what you need. This is what you need. You've been fighting it for so long, and this is what you need. And I was like, I need to go to church. I pulled out my laptop and I started watching, and the word that Pastor Rich had spoken throughout was just more of what I needed to hear. And that's when I said, I'm done running. I need God, and I need Him to take over. And so I did. I gave my life back over to Jesus, and it was the best moment of my life besides getting baptized. Fast forward a little bit of time, and I joined the worship team, and I get really excited, and I'd be jumping up and down and everything as I'm helping lead, and I just felt this joy. I mean, it even got to the point where my mom, she's just like, are you okay? I'm worried about you. I'm afraid that you're gonna keel over up there on stage, and it's just like, no, like, I feel so good and I feel so free. It was like, if I don't, jump up and down and shout it from the rooftops, I feel like I would not be doing what had happened in my life any justice. So after a couple months in, I was getting scheduled for an ablation, and I told my church family about it, and so they all began to pray for healing. And it wasn't just that, the surgery would go good and all this other stuff. They were believing that God was going to heal me. I I don't want to say doubted, but I was just like, well, I'm not going to go into this with, too much hope. They're getting me all prepped and they have me on the monitor, and my doctor comes in and says that he's going to give me some adrenaline because my heart wasn't doing any of the extra beats. So they did. And I'm sitting there, I'm looking over at my husband and I'm just like, ooh, my heart's beating pretty fast. It's got to be showing something now. And it wasn't. My doctor came in and he said, it's still not showing anything, and I cannot operate on what is not there, and I cannot see. I walked out of there and I just praised God for what he had done. This miracle healing, like God takes care of his children. He really does. And that's, it may sound cliche, but I am telling you right now that it is so, 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 so true. And the fact that I can literally sit here and tell you that not only physically, but spiritually, I have been brought from death to life is something that I literally want to shout from the rooftops. I want everyone to experience the love and the care and the embrace that God so desperately wants to give you. And having that purpose and having that hope and having all of that makes life so much better and easier to live and so much more joyful. And like I said before, that death to life is an amazing experience.